MFA updates
Sawadika, welcome to MFA Update with me, Panik Nisha Grayberg, and this is a weekly program that focuses on Thailand's international affairs and activities. Today we welcome Ms. Butsadi Santi Pitak, Ambassador of Thailand to Australia. She will inform us 70th anniversary of the establishment of Thailand-Australia diplomatic relations.
The foreign affairs that matter. Special guests from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is the MFA Updates.
Swadika, Your Excellency. I'm so happy to interview Your Excellency again.
Sawadika, Kun Panik Nisha. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you, and thank you for having me on your program.
It's been a long time since ASEAN Summit, right, in Thailand?
Yes, I think that was the last time we had a very good collaboration, and thank you very much for your support. It's a pleasure to be on your program again.
Okay, so can you give us an overview of the Thai-Australian relations, please?
Yes, certainly. Thai-Australian diplomatic relations were established on the 19th of December, 1952. So this year marks the 70 years of our diplomatic relations. Mm-hmm. Our close and cordial bilateral ties have developed, expanded, and flourished at all levels based on friendship, mutual respect, cooperation, and partnership. It is remarkable that we've reached another milestone this year when relations are indeed very close, cordial, collaborative, and pragmatic. Just to give you an overview of the various engagements that we have, mm-hmm. we Thais will recall very fondly at the highest level His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej the Great and Her Majesty Queen Sirikit, the Queen Mother, paid an 18-day state visit to Australia in 1962. The Majesty's visit was considered as very special, as it was a visit to Australia by the first reigning monarch from a foreign country. Their Majesties then visited all the states and territories in Australia. Subsequently, very importantly also, in 1970, His Majesty King Mahavajiralongkorn Phra Lau Yu Hua joined Australia's oldest private school, King's College in Sydney, and later His Majesty, then as Crown Prince, joined the Royal Military College Duntroon. He spent his years studying and completed his military education and training in 1976. Mm-hmm. Most recently, Her Royal Highness Princess Mahachakri Sirinthorn and Her Royal Highness Princess Julaporn also visited Australia on separate occasions in 2019. Exchanges of visits and contacts have been kept at leaders, at the ministerial and senior officials levels in various formats. Another milestone in our relations, which I can share with you, is that our two countries agreed to further strengthen our existing ties, and in November 2020, our two Prime Ministers, His Excellency General Prayut Chan-o-cha and the Honourable Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia, signed the joint declaration to elevate our bilateral relations to a strategic partnership. This is indeed reflecting of our partnership in the various fields, be it political security, economic and trade, sectoral collaboration, and people-to-people ties. Mm-hmm. While this strategic partnership may seem to be broad in its framework, we are committed and are working very closely together to ensure that there is a clear direction for our engagement in order to fully realize the potential of our cooperation in priority areas ranging from public health, climate change, cybersecurity, digital economy, and education, amongst others. This, we feel, will help to steer our tangible results towards a resilient and sustainable post-pandemic recovery and long-term regional growth. Mm-hmm. More than that, we have also been working closely to advance our partnership on issues of mutual interest. The Thais remember well and sincerely appreciate Australia's steadfast assistance provided to Thailand when we were affected by the tsunami in 2004 and the rescue of the wild boars 13 Thai youth football team from Tham Luang Cave in Chiang Rai in 2018. And most recently, during the early periods of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, we worked very closely coordinating with all the authorities concerned, both in Thailand and Australia, to arrange flights to facilitate the return of our citizens home to our respective countries. And Thailand, we appreciate Australia's $2.8 million in medical and public health related assistance, as well as their offer of 1.2 million doses of vaccine to Thailand to support our national vaccination rollout, in particular for the vulnerable groups. And in other aspects, I'm also pleased to share with you that our economic and investment ties are also very good. Since the Thailand-Australia Free Trade Area came into effect in 2005, our trade volume has tripled. And despite the COVID-19 in the past 2 years, it's quite welcoming that our two-way trade has increased remarkably in the past 16 years. A driving force in that process is the role of the private sectors. To give you some statistics, in 2021, the total trade value between Thailand and Australia reached approximately 23.3 billion Australian dollars. Australia is ranked as Thailand's sixth largest two-way trading partner. Moreover, Thai investment in Australia has grown significantly from $294 million in 2006 to roughly $8.7 billion in 2020. There are now some 200 Australian companies present in Thailand, out of which 30 are located in the Eastern Economic Corridor in Thailand. Nevertheless, I feel more can be done on both sides to expand trade and investment opportunities, tap on the resources available, and especially resumption of travel amongst the various groups of our peoples. And I think one very important aspect which to me is of high importance is the people-to-people ties. It has always been a cornerstone of Thai-Australian relations. These ties can be further strengthened, I believe, through education, tourism, travel, cultural exchanges, as well as human resources development. The role of the Thai communities is also very significant in this regard because the Thai communities are very active and play an important role in promoting Thai culture and Thainess in Australia. Apart from our bilateral relations, Thailand and Australia have enjoyed pragmatic cooperation, collaboration through sub-regional, regional, and multinational frameworks. ASEAN certainly appreciates Australia's constructive role in the region. Australia is ASEAN's oldest dialogue partner and now ASEAN's comprehensive strategic partner. Australia has made significant contribution and engagement in the Mekong sub-region, particularly being ACMEC's development partner and through the Mekong Australia partnership. So as you can see in sum, the ties and the relations are close and they are collaborative and cover a cross-sectoral, very broad areas, but they are, of course, bringing mutual benefit to the peoples of Thailand and Australia.
As a Thai ambassador to Australia, can you tell us a little bit more about Australia, perhaps in some aspects not widely known for our public in Thailand, please?
Indeed, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be ambassador of Thailand to Australia, a country which is also a continent. Australia is certainly very unique because of its vibrant and multicultural society and environment. Australia is home to the world's oldest continuous cultures, as well as Australians who identify with more than 270 ancestries. Since 1945, many generations of people have migrated from various parts of the world to Australia. This rich cultural diversity, I find, is one of Australia's greatest strengths. The beautiful nature, its famous wildlife and animals, the scenic landscapes are unique and vast and captivating in this country. It is therefore not surprising that Australia is home to more than 100,000 Thais who have lived and enjoyed their lives in the various states and territories in Australia, contributing positively to Australian society and community. In addition, I find Australia is very advanced, as I mentioned, the education, and it's also very advanced in innovation and technology. Many people might not know that Australia was one of the first countries to invent the Wi-Fi technology, Google Maps, the black box flight recorder, pacemaker, ultrasound scanner, polymer banknotes, spray-on skin, to name but a few. There are many others. And Australia is, of course, widely recognized in its advancement in the field of public health and medicine. We have much to learn from Australia. And the excellent quality of education, I think, speaks for itself, because we see that many foreign students also come to Australia for the excellent quality of education. Thai students study in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland. These are the top 3 states that they study. And Australia is the 3rd ranking destination for Thai students after the United States and the United Kingdom. And I think the positive factors that draw students to come to Australia, not only for their educational quality, but a few other factors as well, Kun Panitnisha. It's because the well-recognized and high-ranking educational institutions with a wide range of fields of study. Secondly, the good quality of life and comfortable social environment and friendly people of Australia. Thirdly, as I mentioned, it's an open, a multicultural society, easily adaptable to. Fourthly, Australia provides work opportunities for students while they are studying in various forms. And fifthly, and I think it's very important, a safe environment, a caring community and society. And I think another element which I find, which is perhaps also unique for Thais in Australia, I'm very proud that the Thai citizens and communities are active and play positive roles and contribution in Australia. The Thai communities and local associations are caring and still promote Thai cuisine, arts, culture, customs in various ways by participating and showcasing them in local festivals and through contacts with them. Thai restaurants continue to be extremely popular in Australia, and the new Thai generations also pursue successful professional careers in many important fields and professions such as medical health, successful entrepreneurs, agribusiness, manufacturing, and many, many others.
Thank you very much. So what activities has the Royal Thai Embassy planned to organize to celebrate this milestone year, and any joint projects activities with the Australian side?
Yes, Kun Paniknisha, and we are very excited and indeed very honored to be able to host a series of activities to mark this joyous celebration of our 70 years of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Thailand and Australia. And the Royal Thai Embassy, together with the Royal Thai Consulate General in Sydney, have been in discussions with the Australian Embassy in Bangkok and support of the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Thai Ministry of Foreign Affairs, whom we are indeed very grateful for their support and collaboration. Some of the activities will be spread out throughout the year, and as I mentioned, the 70 years actually fall on the 19th of December of this year. But to kickstart our activities and involve the public in our endeavors and engagements, and to feel welcome in this process, we have since at the end of last year started a logo design competition, and we have found a winner. And the logo design has been awarded to Kun Chanida Heng Kuntot in Thailand for designing this very impressive logo for us to launch since the beginning of this year. and the award was given on the 21st of January, just recently at the Australian Embassy in Bangkok. It's very special because it reflects the characteristics of Thailand and Australia, one through the colors of the flag present in the logo, red, blue, and of course the white background, and it also reflects the national animals of Thailand and Australia, the elephant and the kangaroo. This reflects the long-standing ties of friendship and cooperation which binds our two countries and people together, reaching 70 decades. And it's also very important to note that the kangaroo and the elephant are working in the same direction. So I think this is very important. And of course, other characteristics are also reflected in the number 7, reflected in the Australian kangaroo and the boomerang. And the number 0 is reflected in the Thai elephant. So these is very important, and the winner is very creative and has added an element of Thainess, particularly the Thai art elements. The granok and the pajam yam design is represent the rich Thai culture, and of course I think this is very unique and very special and for our celebrations, and I hope that the public will appreciate and use it and recognize it whenever they see it on presentations or in publications or in other social media platforms to celebrate. Other activities that we plan and are working together with our counterparts is, of course, one is to compile views and thoughts from 70 people that we feel play a constructive role and provide us with thoughts about 70 years of our relations. And this will be 70 Thais and Australians, both in Thailand and Australia, who have played key roles in the past, present, and I would certainly like to focus on the future, what their messages will be. And these messages will make public via the social media platforms. We also envisage producing a video commemorating the 70th anniversary of Thailand-Australia relations. Moreover, I think in Thailand and in Australia, different activities will be tailor-made to the different target groups and audiences. For example, in Australia, I do plan to visit the various states and, of course, engage in various local activities with the local authorities and communities. And, for example, in Canberra, I do also plan to invite or visit the local schools around in the Canberra, in the ACT, have an open house at the embassy, perhaps engage the schools or higher education in writing contests about their impressions about the bilateral ties. A very important activity is also celebrating the role of Thai elephants in Thai-Australian relations through the Melbourne and Taronga zoos in Victoria and in New South Wales, respectively. As you know, Thai elephants were brought to Australia, and now there are a few generations of elephants that have been born, and we expect some babies to be delivered at the end of the year. This will certainly mark another milestone of the Thai elephants, new generation, new birth at Melbourne Zoo. And we are very much looking forward to sharing this exciting news with the public, the Thai communities, and the Australians as well. And moreover, we are planning seminars, Thai Film Festival, and of course lighting at main landmarks in Australia and similarly in Thailand. Of course, we hope that these activities will be followed by the Thais and Australians, not only in Thailand and Australia, but perhaps worldwide, those who have interest through our social media platforms, the Royal Thai Embassy, Facebook and Twitter, and the Royal Thai Consulate General Sydney. And we are, of course, in making known these these activities. We hope that you will share, will like, will of course hashtag MidMade as a hashtag 70 years Thailand Australia, hashtag 70 years Thai Aus, 70 ปีไทยออสเตรเลีย70 ปี Thai Aus, in these so that we can share and reach out to the wider audience, taking into consideration the COVID-19 situation, but that should not put an obstacle to us sharing this auspicious occasion. And lastly, I think as Thailand is also hosting APEC 2022 this year, and Australia is a founding member, we certainly hope that we can take advantage of the 70 years celebration to engage in some activities to promote APEC. For example, we share similar views and objectives in promoting the bio-circular green economy model, which Thailand is promoting. And more importantly, as Thailand will host the APEC leaders meeting later this year, we hope that all the leaders, including from Australia, will be able to attend the APEC economic leaders meeting in Thailand. This will also be significant in our bilateral ties.
Thank you very much. And finally, in terms of trade and investment, can you tell us about Thai business and investment in Australia? What sectors that have already been established?
Well, thank you very much. As I mentioned to you briefly, the business investment and tourism ties are very important for our peoples and the economic sectors, and we wish to continue our close collaboration, particularly when we are in a situation of dealing with the COVID-19 situation. I think both countries, Thailand and Australia, we're learning to live with COVID. We're finding pragmatic ways to ensure that economic, trade, investment, people-to-people ties, travel and tourism will be least disrupted so that supply chains can be continue and that consumers will be able to benefit from the strength of our two countries. As I mentioned, the volume, the trade volume is very good, not too much affected by COVID. The investment ties will continue to increase as the investments in Australia, Thailand, the Thai private sector has increasingly invested in a wide range of sectors, particularly energy, for example, in solar, wind, bioethanol, in goods and services, hotel, restaurants, hospitality sector, automotive parts, in the dairy products, fruits. So I feel that for Thais interested to do more business in connections or investments in Australia, opportunities can certainly be explored further, particularly in food, in agriculture, innovation, startups, and focusing on the green economy. There is certainly a strong market of the younger generation, the new modern lifestyle, and the health-conscious consumers who have reoriented their lifestyles. And I think plant-based products will continue to be very, very popular. So there are many opportunities to explore, perhaps maybe because of the time constraint. But I think if there should be any interest from the Thai business companies, big or small, SMEs, please do reach out to the Royal Thai Embassy and the Royal Thai Consulate General in Sydney for more information and for opportunities. And I think the Australian Embassy in Bangkok is also a good source of information and contact for obtaining this network and opportunities.
All right. Thank you for joining me in this program, Your Excellency.
Yes, thank you very much, Kun Panik Nisha, for this opportunity to share with you some of the views, our plans, our activities in this very important year as we celebrate the auspicious occasion of 70 years of Thai-Australian diplomatic ties. And I hope that the audience will join us in this celebration, and we certainly hope to be able to update you on other activities. Thank you very much for having me on your program.
Thank you very much, Ms. Butsadi Santipitak, Ambassador of Thailand to Australia. We've come to the end of the show, and don't forget to follow the YouTube channel MFA Thailand and Facebook page FM88 Radio Thailand English for more updates. I am Kimmy or Kim Panik Nisha Grayberg. So see you again until next time. สวัสดีค่ะ
MFA updates